If you think the reason you are not losing weight is because you are eating too little, you've been lied to. And that is the purpose of this video today. I'm going to be speaking a broad introduction in terms of how my thought process has changed a little bit around low-calorie diets. But I want to make this very, very clear. I'm not promoting extreme dieting and extreme deficits. This is not what this video is for. I'm just giving you the facts, and I'm going to run through my experience, obviously working with women over the age of 30 that are perimenopausal, PCOS, hormonal displacements, have struggled to lose weight their entire life, have struggled for decades, are going through a temporary transitional period in their life, and also competitors. Competitors who have achieved pro status. We've got over 150 pros now achieved pro status in the last, 12 years. We have over 15 regional champions, and we have over 5 or 6, I think 6 now, world champions. So we kind of know what we're talking about when it comes to extreme dieting. Now, I've always been very against extreme calorie deficits, and for a good reason. I'm going to run through exactly my thoughts and why I'm kind of prompting to do this video, because a lot of it has been prompted by these, I wouldn't say new, they've been around since 2018, GLP-1 agonists, Ozempic, Mounjaro. And really, I just want to clear up a lot of misconceptions about dieting in general and the whole kind of fat loss, weight loss space. Because as we know, there is a lot of misinformation out there, and I want to come to you from a real element and also something that's going to make sense. I want you to leave this video understanding the positives and especially the negatives of extreme calorie deficits. And depending on you, depending on your situation, depending on what you're doing and what your goal is, whether it be comp prep, whether it be just to lose 10, 15 or 50 pounds, if you are a female over the age of 30, this video could be quite beneficial for you. So a lot of misconception, I think, out there when it comes to GLP-1 agonist and extreme calorie deficits. Now, I'm kind of like tagging them along with the same thing, because at the end of the day, GLP-1 agonists, Ozempic, Mounjaro, all those kind of Wago, I think there's another one, all these medications are effectively forcing you, I say forcing you, allowing you to maintain an extreme calorie deficit for an extended period of time, and therefore losing a whole bunch of weight. Now, the issue behind these is that people just take them and they are lazy. They don't want to do the work that is required to effectively stave off all the negative ramifications that come with that. If you are effectively starving yourself, you will lose a whole bunch of lean muscle. You will feel like shit. You will most likely become micronutrient deficient, and that can cause brittle hair, bad skin, bad nails, all those kind of micronutrient deficiencies that can be quite serious. Not to mention osteopenia, osteoporosis, which a lot of the bad press about these drugs is coming out because a lot of people are taking them who've never trained, who don't have any interest in training, have no real interest in leading a healthy life. They just want to take something that's going to radically reduce their calorie intake, so effectively they aren't going to be hungry, and they are going to be able to live on 1 or 2 salads a day with an apple martini in the evening. But before these medications became very rife, which they have done in the past couple of years within not only the fitness industry, but I say not even the fitness industry, especially just life in general, generally passed down from the public, generally passed down from the A-list celebrities taking them. We've seen a lot of them having drastic amounts of weight loss and looking completely gaunt. It's a very similar look, and this is why I'm doing the video, because I want to explain a bit of from the comp prep side of things. It's a very similar look, that kind of Ozempic face that people talk about, to a very withdrawn competitor who's been over dieted for a show. So my take on low calorie diets and why I've always avoided them as much as I can. Obviously, when we are working with competitors, there are times where we have to take calories low, but gone are the days of, and those drastic, horrendous stories that we get people coming onto our comp prep program who have been with coaches that put them on 700 to 800 calories a day from day one, 16, 12 weeks out from a competition, with everyday resistance training of like 90 minutes up to 2 hours and an hour's cardio every day. It's just fucking mind-blowingly ridiculous, but I'm going to get to that a little bit later on. And the communication, the words I would use around it is that if you diet extremely low calories for a consistent amount of time, you will lose lean muscle. And when we are trying to create a fit, athletic, lean, conditioned physique for the show, over dieting looks fucking terrible. And there is a lot of nuances and there's a lot of ifs and buts and maybes surrounding this as well. So I want to try and make it very clear. So my mind has been changed recently, and my mind has been changed a little bit on low calorie diets and extreme calorie deficits. Now, once again, disclaimer, I am not promoting or condoning low calorie or extreme deficits. They are, for the majority of people, a completely not good thing to ever consider. But we are talking things like like utilizing them for competitors or people that need to make weight and for short bouts of time. But I'll come to that a little bit later on. But these GLP-1 agonists prove really that starvation mode that everyone spoke about in terms of, oh, I can't lose weight, I think I'm in starvation mode, or I'm holding on to body fat because my calories are too low, is, I'm afraid, a bit of bullshit. Now, there are certain instances where women, men, people cannot lose weight on very low calories, but again, we're talking about a very low percentage of people, and there'll be some kind of a hormonal or other reason, medical reason, why they cannot lose. Effectively, if you are on a calorie deficit, you will lose weight. But it's the calorie deficit part that's the slightly more complex sum, because someone who might be eating 1,000 calories a day or 1,200 calories a day may still not be in a calorie deficit. But that is not a reason to drop calories further. You will have to find out the root cause of why you are not in a deficit, and that will be down to something internal, something hormonal. So, if you are ever considering dropping calories lower and you're getting down to the 1,1300 and you are not a 5-year-old child, I would suggest you pull back from that and figure out the root cause of why you cannot lose weight at that time. And again, are you being absolutely honest? There's a lot of times where people are, I wouldn't say honest, I mean, we kid ourselves, right? Only the other week, or the only other month, when I actually first started dieting a little bit before I went to the States, I assumed, because I have my Fresh Fitness food every day, and they send me 2,800 calories, and my maintenance calories is around about 3,800. So I just assumed I was having 3,800 calories a day. And when I dropped into a deficit, I kept my Fresh Fitness food, I took 500 calories off, and I assumed, without even tracking it, I was probably getting in around about 3,000 to 3,200. I wasn't really moving. Weight wasn't really kind of shifting off. Again, I was trying to give it every excuse in the book. I was like, what's going on? Maybe not doing enough cardio, maybe not training hard enough. But in actuality, I started tracking. So I started tracking my Fresh Fitness food and obviously everything that I ate on top. And I was coming at around about, on average, 3,800 to 4,400 calories a day. So I was not even close. I was actually almost, in a sense, eating in a calorie surplus. So this is also a big question as well, whether people are actually eating that many calories. There's a lot of, and I'm not trying to blame anyone here. I'm not saying you're being untruthful, but we are great at lying to ourselves. Let's just keep it at that. So the reason why I said starvation mode is a whole bunch of bullshit is because now we have these GLP-1 agonists. Those people that were saying this in terms of, I've been on low calories, I can't lose weight, are now taking Ozempic or Mounjaro or a GLP-1 agonist and losing a whole bunch of weight. Now, what does that tell us? They were not consistent and they were not doing everything they said. They hadn't tried everything in the book. They hadn't tried every diet under the sun. They probably have, but they hadn't been consistent. And that is the reason why they were not experiencing weight loss. Now, I don't want to go too much into that because that's another video. And this is already going to be too long anyway. So who can benefit? So getting back to the recent research and why my mind has changed on not so much GLP-1 agonists, but low calorie diets. It's not so much my mind has changed and now I think they are a good thing to do. They are not. But my mind has changed in terms of muscle wastage or muscle loss, because I work very closely with a DEXA scan clinic just off Harley Street here in London. And I was looking through their data and I was speaking to one of the guys, Clive, there, and they had a lot of people over the past probably 6 months, 8 months, even a year. They've had a lot of people doing DEXA scans pre and post taking GLP-1 agonists because they want to monitor. They've heard all this stuff about people losing muscle mass, getting osteoporosis, all this kind of stuff. They were worried and they were concerned, and they were doing the correct thing and the intelligent thing to go get their data checked before and after and check they haven't. So built up of the data, and this is men and women of all ages from 22 up to 52, I believe that was the data point. I don't have the data on me, I'm afraid. I will try and get it. They found that 90 to 95% of the people who had these clinics, and we are talking over 280 people, either didn't lose muscle mass or only lost around about 2 to 3%, which for even a comp prep deficit, not going too aggressive, is manageable and okay for someone to lose 2 to 3% of their lean muscle mass during a dieting phase. So the reason why they didn't lose that lean muscle is because they were adhering to everything that the people and the celebrities that do lose a whole bunch of lean muscle, and 50% of their weight loss comes from lean muscle as well as body fat, and they end up at high risk of osteoporosis, osteopenia. Now, the reason why these people aren't well, are losing a whole bunch of lean muscle, and the ones that were measured at this clinic weren't, is because of pretty much two things. The ones at the clinic were healthy individuals. They were doing it for a healthy purpose. Some of them were doing it just to test and just to get the data. They were strength training regularly. They didn't cut out. They'd strength trained before and they continued. And they were not only tracking their protein, but they were also tracking their calories to make sure they were eating enough. Now, if you've never taken a GLP-1 agonist like Mounjaro or Ozempic, you won't know, but I have. And it dramatically reduces your want to eat. It slows down gastric emptying. It slows down, it intercepts the brain stomach signal to basically tell your stomach that you're hungry. So it really does work. There's no denying it. It really does work. So the people who take it sometimes just forget to eat because they are not hungry, and food becomes not really interesting. And this is coming from me who's taken it, and I have a very high rewards response towards food. I love to eat, no matter whether it's a fucking apple, a piece of chicken, a steak, a cookie. I feel it's more of a process. And myself, I suffered from an eating disorder, binging and purging for about 6 years, back when I was around about 30 to 36 years old. I healed it, I got help, I healed it, and now we've actually opened up a company called Freely, who we help athletes, competitors, and everyday people break free from binge eating and develop a healthy relationship with food. And we've been doing that for almost 2 years now, but that's another story. So the results clearly show that if you stuck to a couple of principles, and these aren't hard principles to do, you don't lose lean muscle, or you lose a very small amount of lean muscle when you're using these GLP-1 agonists, which pretty much cancel out your hunger and also put you into a massive calorie deficit. And you are consistent with that deficit because this GLP-1 agonist drug is working all the time. And as we know, chronic low-calorie diets does come with some physiological and psychological issues, problems, negative ramifications. We know this. We can see it very clearly in competitors who, because it's very aesthetic focused, they are consistently dieting. They feel like, they may be competing 2, 3, 4, 5 times a year. So they spend the normal process, that's a very unhealthy process, to be dieting, a week or 2 weeks of binging, and they feel absolutely terrible. It really affects them psychologically. And then they go back into a dieting process for the next show. This is a tough cycle to break. I'm using competitors here as a standard because that is who we work with, and I've seen this very firsthand. And obviously with our company Freely, we work with a lot of our competitors, our team, to make sure they are fully aware of the potential of what's going to happen post-show. Because people, when they go into a show, they are very excited and they're seeing these changes and they're seeing their body look the best it's ever been, and it's very addictive being that lean. And I've heard this so many times. Oh, I love this physique. I'm going to keep this going forever. I love it. I'm never going to go back. I've heard that plenty of times. After the show, there's a lot of things that happen. I'm not going to go into them now, but you are challenged in a lot of both physical and mental side of things. And the potential to basically binge and put on a whole bunch of weight and feel psychologically really drained and really down is quite rife. So it's very much protecting that headspace. So low calorie diets, extreme calorie deficits, let's call them. Who would I recommend them for? I don't recommend them for anyone, by the way, and who should definitely avoid. So I think when you are medically obese, when you have a lot of body fat to lose, which we have clients come in who have sometimes 60, 70, 80 pounds to lose. Extreme calorie deficits, for example, if someone's weighing 120 kilograms, which is around about 260 pounds, and they want to lose 100 pounds, they have a lot of stored body fat. So stored body fat is stored energy. So they can get away with being on fairly low calories compared to their weight, even though they think they may have a slow metabolism, but in actuality, because of their weight, they actually have a higher metabolism than the average person. Again, that's probably another video topic I can do. And because they have so much body fat, they have so much stored energy, they don't suffer the negative ramifications that most people would suffer, or as many negative ramifications of being on an extreme calorie deficit. I'm going to give you an example. You could quite easily put someone who's 350 pounds, female, 30 years old, on a 12 to 1500 calorie deficit, and they would lose weight fairly fast if they are consistent with that. They would not get any real micronutrient deficiencies as long as that's taken care of. If they obviously were weight training, they would not get any osteopenia, all this kind of stuff. They would not suffer as many or any negative ramifications because they have a whole bunch of stored energy to release. Now, obviously, that will get tougher with time, and there will be certain, and we haven't even spoken about the other, which we will do, negative ramifications of a low-calorie diet in terms of a massive drop in NEAT. Now, NEAT is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Now, that is the second biggest cause of calorie burn throughout the day. It is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. As I said, it's your unconscious movement. So it's, when you are dieting and when you're dieting on low calories, you've probably heard stories. I think BioLane rings in my head. He had a story in terms of when he was about a week or 2 weeks out from competition. He was sitting on the sofa, and I think his ex-wife at the time, his wife, now ex-wife, at the time had like a Desperate Housewives or something like that, or a Wags or whatever on the TV, which is his most hated TV show, and the control was only about 2 meters away, but it meant he had to get up to get it. He watched the whole damn episode because he literally didn't have the energy to get up in his chair, reach over, grab the control. I mean, that's what we're talking about, and that is the massive drop in NEAT. Now, if you think about it, your BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate, which is the biggest, it equates to around about 60 to 65%, potentially up to 70% of your daily calorie burn. That is how many calories you need just to keep the lights on, like all bodily function. So if you laid in bed all day, you burn calories, and you burn the most amount of calories that you do compared to all your other areas of your metabolism. NEAT is the second one. It equates to around about 20% of your daily calorie burn. If that takes a massive drop because you are so lazy because of the low calories, that's a big amount of calorie drop. So for example, your maintenance calories when you are normal and when you're energetic might be like 2,000. But if after a low calorie diet and a massive drop in NEAT, it might be 1,600. So you now eating 1,400 calories is not as, you are not in as much of a calorie deficit that you need to be to lose weight. And that is where things come, and that is where people think about, my metabolism's ruined. You can't long-term ruin your metabolism through having low-calorie diets. Your metabolism will recover, because people think metabolism is just one thing. It's like an organ that breaks when they've been on low calories and they have to make it work again. It's not. You have 6 or 7 biological functions that make up your metabolism. I'm not going to go into them now, but to list them, they're BMR, which I've explained, NEAT, EAT, which is exercise-associated thermogenesis, which is your exercise, TEF, which is thermic effect of food. All of these things make up your metabolism, and they equate to your overall calorie burn. So the people who can get away with extreme calorie deficits, and I wouldn't so much I recommend, but for example, if we had a competitor that was 3 weeks out from a show and they still needed to lose like 3.5 kilograms, we may have to think about moving into extreme calorie deficits for short periods, like 2 or 3 or 4 days at a time before a refeed or a little slight diet break, to stave off metabolic adaptation, to make sure they make weight, to make sure they make condition. This is a time-focused event. There is a specific, we can't put the competition a week later, so we just have to do what we do. And it is not super unhealthy if we do it in the short term. It's just like females who lose their cycle when they are prepping for a show, when they are doing sporting events, when they have to drop to that level of body fat. It's not unhealthy if you understand that there's a reason behind it, because you are dropping weight, you are losing a whole bunch of body fat, and your body is not currently in a state to allow a menstrual cycle to happen. It is not unhealthy because you know what's going on, you know it's only going to be a short period, and you know what to do afterwards. That is always what people think out. Yes, it is not healthy at all for you to lose your cycle and never get it back. But if you are losing your cycle when you are on low calories, when you are dieting for a show off, when you're dieting for a specific competition or to make weight, if you're a fighter, MMA, boxer, whatever it may be, it is not unhealthy if it's a short amount of time, like 2 cycles, 2 months, 3 months, because you know once you come out of it and stress starts to reduce from your body and your body becomes a little bit more and your body fat starts to increase and you start eating normal calories again up to maintenance, pushing to a surplus, you know your cycle is going to regain and there won't be any lasting damage. I would not recommend super low calorie diets for anyone who's suffered with disordered eating in the past. If it is completely fixed and you are a competitor and you've suffered with disordered eating in the past, it can get you stuck in that loop. But however, if you are recovered and you understand that, it is what it is, then I don't believe that you can be fully recovered if you are still competing. However, you can manage it through those periods of time where you are competing, and then after, when you stop competing, that is when the real recovery starts, because it's effectively bringing yourself back into normal life. And it is absolutely very possible. Now, obviously, we know the risks of low-calorie diets, and the main thing why I wouldn't recommend anyone else do extreme calorie deficits or low-calorie diets are because of the adherence. It sucks dieting. It really does. Anyone who says they love dieting just likes the end result. They like the results of dieting. Fucking who doesn't? But me, I fucking hate calorie deficit. I hate dieting. A lot of people do. I don't think anyone really enjoys dieting. People enjoy eating healthy. That's 100%. but no one enjoys dieting, right? And I put a post up this morning on Threads. The key to successful and sustainable weight loss long-term is finding a way of eating that it doesn't need to finish. It's not a diet, it's just a lifestyle. You hear this a lot, but it's really true. And it's not so much you are dieting for a long period of time. You shouldn't be dieting for anything more than is what necessary. Like if you have 200 pounds to lose, obviously the dieting phase will be quite long, even up to a year. Potentially even longer. But it'll be done in bouts. But if you only have like 10 pounds, 20 pounds to do it, that should be done in around about 10 to 16 weeks. And once you achieve that weight loss, that is when you start to reverse out. That's when you bring calories up to maintenance. Life in a deficit. Problem is, people say they've tried dieting, they've tried calorie restriction for a long period of time, they haven't got results, but they haven't really. They've tried it, they've been too severe with the calorie restriction, they've tried to jump in, they've got the all or nothing mindset, they try to stay on low calories for a period of time, they've managed it for 2 days, they get back, they're stressed from work, and they end up having a cookie or a bit of chocolate, and they end up fucking piling through the confectionery drawer, their kids' treats and stuff like that. They feel fucking terrible. It takes them a couple of days to get back on track. And by that time, they're just stuck in that cycle. It's yo-yo dieting. It's like, it's not so much binging, it's just overeating and feeling terrible and then taking a day or 2 days to get back on track and then it happening again. The factor is this, and what we've found with most people that we work with that have come to us that have been doing this for sometimes decades, fundamentally it's just down to too much restriction. They think that they have to be super restrictive and that everything has to be perfect, but in actuality you don't have to be perfect, you just have to be consistent. And consistent is not perfection. Consistency is doing the things that align with your goals more often than that. You will mess up, you will have a cookie, you will potentially have 2 cookies, you may even overeat, you may even binge. But it's the focus and the actuality and the realization that you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be consistent. And consistent isn't done day to day. It's done over a longer period of time. Have you been doing things better and have you been sticking to your adherences and your principles for more time than you haven't? That is a good thing. Consistency is basic. Same with, measuring calories, not by day to day, but measuring through the week. Some days you might eat a little bit more. Some days you may eat a little bit less. But the factor is, if you can remain in a calorie deficit spread over the week, the likelihood is you will lose weight and you will be happy with the results. But that's over the long term. It's not done day to day. It's not done short term. So obviously super low calorie diets, extreme calorie deficits, I do not recommend to really anyone, especially if you're a woman or a man. I mean, we're going to focus on women because we specialize in dealing with women over 30 years old who want to just get in incredible shape and lose a whole bunch of weight. But for most people, it's just not worth the cost. It's not sustainable. And the main thing is, it's very hard to adhere to. If you're a woman age 35 or 40 years old who wants to lose 20, 25 pounds, I pretty much guarantee if you stuck to a 1200 calorie deficit, you would lose weight. If you prioritize protein, if you prioritize resistance training, if you didn't go too crazy on the cardio, if you use stress management tools, if you slept well, you'd most likely, and you haven't got any hormonal displacement issues, you would likely lose weight and you would be consistent losing weight. The only thing is 1200 calories is not enough food. You may not lose lean muscle if you are strength training, but you will feel potentially like dog shit. You will feel very hungry all of the time. So trying to stick to those calories will be nigh and impossible on a day-to-day basis. And you probably will break and you'll probably get stuck into that cycle of overeating, under-restricting, and just not getting any freaking results. So counter that with being on 16 to 1700 calories, but still in a 15 to 20% calorie deficit, you are able to be consistent hitting those calories between that 16 to 1700 calorie range on a daily basis. You feel a little bit hungry, sure. You feel like you're in a deficit. You have to feel like you're in a deficit. If you don't feel like you are slightly hungry when you are effectively in a calorie deficit, the likelihood is you are not in a calorie deficit. Hunger and losing weight and losing body fat, I'm afraid, unless you are on GLP-1 agonists, they come hand in hand. But extreme hunger and micronutrient deficiencies do not have a place in sustainable weight loss. They just don't. So I think the conclusion here is that, number one, GLP-1 agonists are not the devil. And if used correctly and effectively, they can be a great tool for weight loss. And they've also proven that you don't lose lean muscle when you're on an extreme calorie deficit or when you're in a deficit if you stick to the fundamentals, high protein diet, making sure you're getting enough calories, and obviously resistance training, and obviously sleeping well and all those other factors. Low calorie diets, extreme calorie deficits are only for people who are time poor in terms of competitors. They do not belong in the regular weight loss, fat loss market because they are just unsustainable and make you feel like shit. And we are all about health first. So we are looking for something that's sustainable. And as I said, way of eating that doesn't feel like it has a time frame. It doesn't feel like you have to do this to get that. It's a way of eating effectively that doesn't feel like it needs to be finished. It's a lifestyle change. You are eating for health. You're eating for longevity. You're eating to feel good. It's just the amount you're eating sometimes changes. For example, if you want to lose weight, you have to adhere to a slight calorie deficit. When you are happy with your weight, you eat around maintenance. You've got a lot more flexibility. So I hope you got something from this video, guys. I know it's a long one, but there's a lot of kind of gold in there as well. I will break it up for some shorts, but if you did get something for it, please put in the comments and make sure you subscribe. It really does help me out. And you will also be the first to be aware and to know of any other videos like this, because I'm going to be doing a lot more long form content like this that gives you a little bit more insight rather than the short. The reels are good, short form content. That's what works with the algorithm. That's what probably brought you to this YouTube channel and this podcast. But now you can get a better idea of who I am, what we do at TB Community, and the real fundamentals and the breakdown of what it takes to lose weight in a good, sustainable format and actually change the way you feel, the way you look, and the way you perform, and the way you turn up. So have a great day, and you are more than welcome.